Welcome back. Well, to shed some light on what may likely play out today, we're headed to Abuja.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. We do not have with us this morning members of the National Assembly, but we do have with us Mr. Tanko, who is a presidential aspirant under the National Conscience Party. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily. We also have with us Chief Okoye, who is a former presidential candidate and the national chairman of the UDP. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily as well.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, we do hope that, gentlemen, you'll be able to do justice to this matter in terms of what your thoughts, your thinking will be with the happening so far. But from what you have seen, yesterday, I think it was sometime last week, we saw what happened at the National Assembly. There was a siege, and then, there were accusations and counter-accusations, and we heard that the DSS DG was fired on the same day the siege happened. And then shortly after, even before that siege, we had been hearing requests, pressure coming from a lot of quarters asking the National Assembly to reconvene over the urgent matter of the budget of INEC before we now saw all of what we saw. Nonetheless, the leadership of the National Assembly still met with the leadership of INEC and gave them reassurances. Based on the outcome of that particular meeting, we thought that by this week, Tuesday, from what we understood, perhaps the National Assembly would reconvene. But as of Monday, speaking with members of the National Assembly, none of them was able to confirm to us specifically when they were going to be reconvening. What is your reading of all that has happened so far? And are you confident that the National Assembly will indeed resume this week? Let's start with you, Mr. Tanko.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Once again, good morning, Nigerians. It's not a surprising thing, what you're saying. The early warnings are there. We've already seen it right in the beginning where the National Assembly took its leadership, and then the war started right from there. Unfortunately...
What's not surprising to you, sorry?
The fracas that we're seeing now, whether changing and defection of political party leaders, and then the issue of siege at the National Assembly, on all of those ones that we're seeing, all is politics. And then the starting point was when the National Assembly took off. It was no hidden fact that the presidency was not happy with the leadership of Senator Saraki. It's not a hidden fact. And some of us really gave a very detailed example of some of the things that can happen in the future if it was not nipped in the bud. And they didn't do anything about it. So they should have been preparing for this kind of situation. But one thing that is disturbing here is this. The Nigerian people, what do they gain out of this? And I'm continuously disturbed that if this situation is not critically taken care of, we may have a situation in our hands that we may not be able to tackle. Now, the presidency is using a kind of commando style, trying to take over leadership, not following actually some of the due process. You've seen individuals coming up in covered faces, coming to the National Assembly, trying to install a new leadership without following due process.
The presidency has denied vehemently that they knew anything about it.
No. Denying is different from what we saw. I'm talking about what we saw on the news. You showed it. We saw them. And then you saw where members of the National Assembly were challenging some of our security officers, which is completely unacceptable. It doesn't happen in a democratic system.
Mr. Tanko, you're asserting clearly here that you believe that the presidency was behind the
decision. No, I didn't say the presidency, but what I saw was that I saw individuals with this inscription of DSS in front of their chest and then denying elected leaders of our country from entering chambers where they're supposed to perform their duties.
But you've said that that the presidency is taking on a commando style, and you use that as an example. So clearly, you created a linkage.
One thing is sure: the DSS and the security apparatus are under the directive of the presidency.
And to show that they had nothing to do with it, they fired the DSS DG.
It is a time for denial. Of course, when things goes bad, people will deny certain things. But when the actual situation is that it's not something that was created from the moon, it's what we saw we are saying. And every Nigerian was very much viewed it, and we saw all of it that happened So for us, it's a clear situation where the presidency and the government of the day was not able to control its own internal problems that have now metamorphosed into a Nigerian problem that we need to tackle as quickly as possible. Otherwise, it will derail the democracy that all of us have suffered for a very long time.
Chief Okoye, what do you make of all that has happened? He says this has come as no surprise to him, but looking at all that you have seen so far, are you surprised at where we are, and should we really be where we are?
Well, I'm not surprised at where we are. I'm not surprised at all. And let me start by saying, maybe with the denial you just pointed out, I'm hiding. You're not seeing me.
How do you mean?
I'm hiding. You're not seeing me. I'm hiding behind the finger. So when you say they denied it, what would they say? It went bad. There must be a fall guy. Somebody has to, carry the can. So, as it is,
that's the narrative you're holding on to.
The DSS is part of the executive branch. The police is part of the executive branch. We have the judiciary, the legislature, the executive. These are the three arms of government. And that's why that place is called three-arm zone. And the prognoses are very bad.